Just press the button and do 1-0. Recording myself.
The story goes like this. You know Gregor? Is Gregor doing anything about this?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, Gregor is Lee's older sage-like dude, went to America in 1985, and he told Mark Gonzalez about Lee Ralph. He said, there's a guy in New Zealand that just drinks tea and skates his own vert ramp. You gotta go check him out. And at that time, Mark was making 200 grand a year at 15 years old. Mark just disappeared.
Well, I'm gonna get to Lee Ralph, but this is just the introduction.
So why don't you tell us about your first encounter with Lee Ralph?
I was in Santa Barbara, and it was a contest, and one of the skaters that had went there was Gregor Rankin. When I was talking to him, he said, you know, you really like skateboarding, you ought to go to New Zealand and meet up with my buddy Lee Ralph. He's very good. You would like skating with him. He's insane. So I said, sure, I'll do that. So I went to New Zealand and met him.
Himself, Lee Ralph. Yeah. Good across town. Oh no, it's off. Front side. Back side.
So trippy because he just was like so like ratty and like didn't look like a skateboarder, but he ripped though. He was like big leads, tails, like cracking the tail. I mean, Lee wasn't aggro, but he gave off the impression of aggro, kind of like the demeanor of being gnarly or aggressive. He was actually very gentle. Like, watching him do like a lip slide and then revert, oh man, it was just so sick. So I stayed there in New Zealand for like maybe a month and a half, and skated with him and his friends, and skating with Lee, like it was crazy, and like just like so many tricks, and like it was like a combination of Chris Miller and Craig Johnson. Chris Miller is like ultra like surf style, really smooth, pretty. Craig Johnson is like aggro. That was their mission, to come over here and like fuck shit up, and they did it. And they came over here, fucked shit up, and they fucking impressed me to like fuck shit up the way I did, to not care about money, to tell people like Rocco or Brad Dorfman, fuck you, like I want to fucking dump in there, I'm gonna fucking come up there, grind that, pop off there, frontside invert off that, fucking come back around, do this, do that, like without your approval, you know what I mean? I can't say like anything more than to say these guys left an impression that changed skateboarding.
It started long ago, in a land far away. Island people had something to say. Take your brain, put it here. I'll eat that and drink your beer. Part-time animal, full-time cannibal. I'm not crazy, he's insane. Lee Ralph will eat your brain in a bucket or cup. Eat it up. Skull cap salad. Eat it up.
Okay, roll it. Yep. Yep.
I've seen you up and I've seen you down. I keep on thinking about the times that I've seen you, but
Well, I go with Gaunt. Realising that he was a lot more like me than I thought at first. We moved into his house in Southgate. No shit. This is in Watts, you know, far out. You know, I'm a Maori, I like to think that we're pretty tough guys, you know, and a bit of Jack the Muss in us. And when I looked across the road and saw that basketball court, bro, across the road from his house, and it's straight out of white men can't jump kind of gear, like, guys are just going to shoot you, you know, like, I went down into by the Circle K thing on the corner, and it was crazy down there in Southgate, it was horrifying. I'm down there, I'm at the bus stop, go over to Lance's on the bus.
He stayed at my house. My wife had a rule, you had to shower. We'd always play this game. He played it with everyone. Stand in a mirror, and he would stand in front of you, and you'd stand behind, and his size of his cranium and his body could hide almost everyone. They'd stand behind him, you couldn't see him, because he had massive cranium. He would wake me up, we gotta go skating. He'd be up ready to go skate at 10 o'clock, and we're like, this is not what we do. He was in unbelief that you're not doing what I had dreamed you guys were doing, skating the ramp 24 hours a day. We're so over it. We're street skating a lot. And he was just like, you guys are out of your minds.
I think I found out about Lee from Neil Blender. You know, I do know that I generally had never heard of Lee, you know, before. It was like, very much like, oh yeah, this guy Lee Ralph, he's from New Zealand, and you know, he rips and he's skating lances, and it was like, the next thing I know, that's what I'm seeing, and he's gnarly. At the time, skating was a lot smaller of a scene, and there was like these places where everybody would congregate and have big sessions. So somebody new just coming in that nobody's ever heard of, it's like, that's a big deal if somebody's on that level where they're automatically like one of the best guys.
Wow, who is this dude? He amazed me when I first saw him skate. I think he was just like a kid in a candy store. He could skateboard, man. He had some tricks, and he did them big, and he had style as well. And, you know, just someone, you know, always people coming from other places that are unknown, you kind of wonder, you know, what's their background, how they start skating, you know, who were their influences.
3 guys skating a skate park, that was it. They had this story that they had bought boards in 1980 and there was no boards for sale forever on the island. And one had a Caballero, the other one had an Olsen, and they got so bad that they fiberglassed them together and skated this one board that was half a Caballero, half an Olsen board, handmade fiberglass together for 6 years. You know, he almost like to an extreme lived out these myths and these stories. There's probably some truths to them, you know, but they were just so starved for this. So when he got here, it's on. It was awesome. It brought all this new live energy. He made us go ride the ramp every day.
They were skating like 2 days a week. They were really letting it slack, bro. They'd become pro, they were getting money. Some of them had bought houses and cars and all this shit. They were getting rich, but they weren't riding, bro. And I'm dead serious, because once I got there and I saw how lazy these fuckers were, honestly, I just went, like, it's not going to take me long to destroy these cunts, because they're not trying. They've given up, like, you know, they're not hammering at the toil. How the fuck are they supposed to keep up with a motherfucker who gets up at dawn and just skates like this till dark every day and lives for it? Well, they got no chance, you know? And I really think I opened up a lot of minds when I was at Lancis to people just going, oh, that's right, you know? Well, that's what they used to do, and that's how they got their names. That's how Chris Miller became Chris Miller. This is how Gator became Gator and all of that.
We were like kids who'd dreamed about getting to America and California. It was like, whoa, we got to go there. That's what I want to be. And we got here around the similar time. And that was what was rad, is I think we're all kind of on that similar level, like, where are we going to stay in 2 weeks? Do we have enough money for food? How are we going to get to Lance's or Phil's ramp or, you know, La Cañada or these other ramps? How could we get there even to skate? You know, like, because we were like just making it up as we went along. But yeah, I met Lee, and he was at Lance's. I guess first impressions mean a lot, right? And there was a strong first impression with him. He was ripping. I remember he was doing like grind reverts. We'd never really seen someone just come all the way around backwards like that.
When we came to America, I noticed that most people we skated with didn't go backwards much. And in England and New Zealand, they did. And the reason why, I think, is because we used to start skating the ramps from the flat, because a lot of the ramps didn't have decks on them. So we'd have to run up, jump on the board and gyrate. And then you'd usually, do a fakie tail stand, then maybe a rock fakie, and then you'd start your run, you know what I mean? So fakie, fakie, fakie.
People were going backwards. I mean, people were definitely doing, but Lee was kind of doing it all and progressing. Like, he did all the backward stuff and then all the revert stuff, That then was huge jump forward. Like, a lot of people can see someone do something and then figure out, but you always got to give respect to people who do things first, for sure, And he did. That was just one thing, and it wasn't what stood out. Flying through the air, great inverts and hand plants, good lip trick selection, just really well-rounded, but it's kind of where he went in that first year in the US was really incredible.
There's a classic photo that I'm sure you'll see, is a photo of him doing a frontside air at Lance's. And he is so high up. I mean, there's Chris Miller's in the background, Bod's in the background, Ben Schroeder's in the background. I mean, he looks like he's 8 feet high, and it's beautiful frontside air. And it's just one of probably the best skate photos you'll probably ever see. And just his face is just like, and you could just imagine what air he did in that corner, in the left-hand corner, to get into this frontside air across the channel. I mean, it is a monster frontside air from an absolute monster.
Big up to Lee Ralph. Okay. Let's see here. My first impressions of Lee Ralph. He showed up with Mark Gonzalez to skate camp. All of us little street skaters at the time, which was me and Jim Thiebaud and I think Fish and Karen Zapata, but we were like little, and he was this big dude, and he came and he killed it on the ramp, and he like skating the ramp barefooted, does a couple fakie ollies, everyone gets psyched, he gets hyped. Next thing you know, he's doing frontside inverts, all barefooted. That was pretty amazing, because I'd never really seen anybody skate barefooted other than just kind of do a frontside grinds. He pretty much did every trick, and then he came back like for some late night session or something, had work boots on and was killing it again. So those are kind of the kids at camp used to not want to talk to him because he was kind of like so gnarly that no one, they thought they would eat him or something like that. But to me, anybody who skates that gnarly, sheesh, could be doing anything. And like I said, he's from New Zealand, so he's probably doing something that New Zealanders do, which it could be anything gnarly because that's the gnarliest country in the world. So yeah, I mean, who knows? He's like probably pulling in tugboats, or he's going after wombats, or that might be an Australian thing, but who knows, he's just doing the Lee Ralph thing, just probably sitting on the side of a mountain eating trees, who knows, big man like that. But big up to Lee Ralph wherever he is though, because he was an amazing skater. Big up Lee Ralph.
Lindsay Knight. I mean, come on, let's have it straight, man to man. What sort of fucking name's that? Lindsay.